It is 10:07 p.m. The house is quiet. The notifications have finally stopped. You are lying in bed, the glow of your phone illuminating the ceiling. And suddenly, for no apparent reason, you feel a heavy, sinking weight in your chest. Just 4 hours ago, you were laughing with colleagues. You were productive. You were answering emails. You were the version of yourself that everyone likes. But now, in the safety of your own room, stripped of the daylight and the noise, you feel hollow. You scroll through social media, but you aren't really watching. You are just swiping. You are feeding your brain rapid-fire images not because you are interested, but because you are terrified of the alternative. You are afraid that if you turn the screen off, if you let the silence actually touch you, you might fall apart. You might have to listen to the thoughts that you have been running from all day. You might ask yourself, why do I feel so lonely when I have friends? Why do I feel empty when I accomplished so much today? Is there something wrong with me? If this specific scene sounds like your nightly ritual, listen closely. You are not going crazy. You are not ungrateful for the life you have, and most importantly, you are not broken. What you are experiencing right now has a name. It is a biological and psychological phenomenon that happens to millions of us every single night. It is the collision between your exhausted biology and your unguarded psychology. In psychology, we often refer to this as the post-performance crash, or more colloquially, the dopamine drop. But it is actually much more poetic than that. Think of your mind like a theatre. All day long, you have been on stage. You have been performing the role of the good employee, the attentive friend, or the responsible adult. The lights were bright, the audience was watching, and your adrenaline was pumping. But at 10 p.m., the curtain falls. The audience goes home, the lights go out. And now you are standing alone on a dark, empty stage, surrounded by the mess of the day's performance. That emptiness you feel, it isn't a lack of happiness. It is simply the silence of the theatre after the show. However, most of us do not know how to handle this silence. We treat this natural downtime as a threat. We panic. We try to fill the void with late-night snacks, with television series we have already seen, or with endless scrolling. In this video, we are going to explore the 3 distinct ways our brains react to this nightly void. We call them the 3 nighttime archetypes. Most of us are trapped in Type 1, the distractor, or Type 2, the night judge. But there is a third way, Type 3. Type 3 is a hidden strength. Before we can reach that state of peace, we must first validate what you are feeling right now. Your brain is tired. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational part of your brain that acts like a strict parent, is going offline. This leaves your limbic system, the emotional, primal, sensitive child of your brain, completely unsupervised. So, if you feel vulnerable right now, it is because you biologically are vulnerable. The guard is asleep and the gates are open. Let's stop judging ourselves for feeling this way. Let's stop asking, what is wrong with me? And start asking, what is my brain trying to process? We are going to walk through this together. We will start by looking at the first 2 types, the ones that keep you awake and anxious, so we can identify them, understand them, and eventually transcend them. Now, let us turn on the lights in the backstage of your mind and look at the characters running the show after dark. When that feeling of emptiness hits, most people instinctively slide into one of 2 roles. You will likely recognize yourself in at least one of them. The first archetype is Type 1, the distractor. If you are the distractor, you treat silence like a physical enemy. The moment you walk into your apartment, you turn on music. When you shower, you have a podcast playing. And when you get into bed, you enter a state that psychologists call revenge bedtime procrastination. You know you need sleep. You know you will regret this tomorrow morning. But you stay awake anyway, scrolling through videos, playing games, or reading news that does not actually matter to you. Why do we do this? It is not because we are lazy. It is not because we have poor discipline. The distractor stays awake because the daytime belongs to everyone else, to the boss, to the family, to the obligations. But the night feels like the only time that belongs to the self. However, there is a darker reason. The distractor is terrified that if the constant stream of information stops,
the internal void will become too loud to ignore. We use blue light as a shield. We use noise as a wall.
We are essentially running on a dopamine treadmill, terrified that if we stop running, we will have to face the emptiness waiting behind us. But eventually, the phone battery dies, or your eyes simply cannot stay open. And that is when Type 2 often takes over. Type 2 is the night judge. The night judge appears when the distractions fail. Have you ever noticed that you never worry about your life choices at 10 a.m. while you are drinking coffee? But at 11:30 p.m., suddenly you are convinced you are a failure. You remember an awkward thing you said 5 years ago.
You worry about a project due in 3 weeks. You analyze a text message from a friend and convince yourself they secretly hate you. This is not a coincidence. This is biology. During the day, your prefrontal cortex is fully active. This is the CEO of your brain. It handles logic, reasoning, and emotional regulation. It keeps your irrational fears in check.
It tells you, don't worry about that email, it's fine. But the prefrontal cortex is an energy-expensive organ. By 10 p.m., it is exhausted.
It effectively clocks out and goes offline to recharge. Meanwhile, the amygdala and the limbic system, the emotional centers of the brain, are still wide awake. Without the CEO there to supervise them, these emotional centers start running wild.
They begin to scan for threats. In the modern world, a threat is not a predator in the bushes. A threat is social rejection, future uncertainty, or past mistakes.
So, when you lie in bed and feel that crushing weight of self-criticism, it is not because your life is actually falling apart. It is because your internal defense attorney, your logic, is asleep, leaving the internal prosecutor, your fear, to present a one-sided case against you.
You are experiencing a biological imbalance, not a reality. You are viewing your life through a lens that is temporarily distorted by exhaustion and a lack of executive control.
Furthermore, we must talk about the chemistry. Throughout the day, especially if you are the distractor, you have been flooding your brain with dopamine.
High stimulation, constant rewards. When you finally put the phone down, those dopamine levels crash. The sudden drop in neurochemicals feels physically painful. It feels like a withdrawal symptom. This chemical dip manifests as that hollow, sinking feeling in the chest. We interpret this chemical crash as sadness or loneliness, but often it is just your brain coming down from a high-stimulation sugar rush.
Understanding these two types changes the game. When you realize you are being a distractor, you can see that you are just afraid of silence.
When you realize the night judge is speaking, you can recognize that it is just a tired amygdala talking, not the truth. But there is a level beyond this. There is a way to look at this nighttime void that transforms it completely. This brings us to Type 3. And then there is Type 3, the Soloist. This is the rarest type, but it is the one we should all aspire to become.
The soloist is not a monk living on a mountain. They are a normal person just like you, living in the same chaotic, demanding world. They feel the exact same chemical crash at 10 p.m. They feel the same sudden silence when the notifications stop.
But here is the twist. The soloist does not interpret this silence as loneliness. They interpret it as liberation.
The soloist understands a fundamental truth about the human mind that the distractor and the judge miss completely.
They understand that the emptiness you feel at night is not a hole inside of you that needs to be filled. It is simply space.
Think about your day. From the moment you wake up, your brain is being stuffed. It is stuffed with work tasks, with other people's emotions, with traffic noise, with news headlines, with social expectations. Your mental living room is packed floor to ceiling with clutter. When 10 p.m. hits and that empty feeling arrives, that is not your brain dying. That is your brain finally opening the windows. That is your brain taking out the trash.
The soloist welcomes this emptiness because they know it is the only time of day when they are allowed to put down the heavy mask they wear for the world.
Think about it. All day long, you are defined by your relationships to others.
You are someone's employee. You are someone's partner. You are someone's child.
You are constantly reacting, adjusting, and performing.
But in the silence of 11 p.m., when no one is watching, who are you?
The soloist realizes that this terrifying void is actually the only place where they can meet their true self. It is the only moment when you don't have to be productive. You don't have to be nice. You don't have to be smart. You can just be. This is the profound difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. It is a state of lack. It feels like you have been abandoned by the tribe. Solitude, on the other hand, is the glory of being alone. It is a state of fullness. It is the realization that you are enough company for yourself. The soloist uses the default mode network, that wandering state of mind, not to judge themselves, but to wander. They let their thoughts drift without grabbing them. They let the sadness sit there without trying to fix it. They realize that the sadness is just the dust settling after a storm. Instead of scrolling to avoid the feeling, they might stare at the ceiling and just breathe. Instead of analyzing their mistakes, they might just observe how tired their body feels. They treat the emptiness like a warm bath, not a cold prison. By reframing this time, the soloist turns the post-performance crash into a post-performance recovery. They don't go to sleep escaping their life, they go to sleep having reconnected with it. So, how do we move from the panic of the distractor or the guilt of the judge to the peace of the soloist? It starts with understanding one final piece of biology: synaptic pruning. The night is designed to be the cleaning cycle. Imagine our theatre metaphor one last time. When the play is over, the actors leave, and the cleaning crew comes in to sweep the floor. If you are the distractor and you keep scrolling until 2 a.m., it is like refusing to leave the stage. You are preventing the cleaning crew from doing their job. If you are the night judge, you are standing on that empty stage, screaming at the empty seats, preventing the reset. The soloist simply walks off the stage. The soloist lets the theatre go dark. Try the 15-minute fade out. Instead of cutting from high stimulation directly to silence, create a bridge. Tell your internal judge, the court is closed. We can review the evidence tomorrow morning. Now, I want to ask you, which character plays the lead role in your nighttime routine? Are you the distractor, the night judge, or the soloist? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, the show is over. You can rest now.